Ling Jiu, the Book of Nine Tales. The fading. Deep in the spirit realm, there lived an ancient nine-tailed fox named Ling Jiu. She was the last memory keeper in all the realms. Her 9 tails held 9 precious memories of the human world. As long as she existed, humanity wouldn't completely forget kindness, courage, compassion, laughter, trust, sacrifice. But centuries later, the world started to change. War, indifference, and oblivion clouded hearts like a thick fog. When the last child who remembered Ling Jiu's name grew old, her 9 tails began to fade and disappear, one by one. Ling Jiu felt a piercing pain, not in her body, but in her soul. Who am I? What did I used to protect? To rediscover herself, she embarked on a journey across 9 realms, needing to reawaken the memories held within her 9 tails. Tale 1. The Empress of Qingqiu. Way back when, there was a kingdom called Qingqiu. It was a land of spirits, with landscapes like paintings, peach blossoms always in bloom, and silver mist that never faded. Born noble, she possessed magic to control nature and commanded all beasts and spirits. People revered her as the Empress, but she never got close to any humans. And even her own people could only look up at her from afar. She believed mortals are short-sighted, spirits are greedy. Only in solitude can one endure. She sheltered all things under her wings, yet she never allowed herself to get close to them. Until one day, a newborn fox cub wandered into her palace, shivering and huddling under her cloak for warmth. Ling Jiu initially wanted to chase it away, but in those dewy eyes, she saw a dependence she had never experienced before. In that moment, she hesitated. For the first time, she lowered her divine power and gently curled her tail around the little fox, cradling it as a mother would until it fell asleep. She began to understand that protection wasn't just about suppressing floods and expelling demons. Sometimes it could simply be tenderness. That night, the mountains of Qingqiu were still, yet peach blossoms fell like rain. Ling Jiu's first tail quietly returned, within a single, silently fallen petal. Tale 2. The Fire of Daji. In that lifetime, she was called Su Daji, awakened amidst the fragrant scents of the royal city of Qioga. Legend had it that she was a fox spirit in human form, controlled by demonic forces, sent to the palace to bewitch the king and bring about the downfall of the Shang dynasty. But the real story, only she knew it when Ling Jiu awoke in that life. Her destiny was already set. She initially just wanted to complete her task, but she unexpectedly saw a lonely king. He indulged in wine and women by day, but secretly wept in his dreams every night. No one knew about his mother's early death and the murder of his brothers, leaving him with only anger and delusions. She approached him not to deceive, but to understand. The way he slept in her arms wasn't like the bloodthirsty tyrant of legends. He just wanted warmth. She kept him company with tea, music, and conversation. But they spoke not of empires and power struggles, but of his childhood dreams. She tried to persuade him to wake up, to leave a path for his people. He hesitated briefly, but in the end, he was dragged into the abyss by hatred and power. On the night the city burned, she stood atop the palace walls, watching the king's burning hall, and smiled with her eyes closed. I tried my best. The second tail returned in the flames, carrying a trace of human tenderness. Tale 3. The Smiling Girl in the Book. She was a fox spirit in a book named Yingning, always smiling, always gentle. In that life, she met a scholar. There wasn't a love story of epic proportions, nor did it involve battles with demons. They simply planted flowers, drank tea, wrote poems, and watched the clouds drift by together. She never revealed her true identity, secretly tucking away her tails at night, until one day she had to leave. She left him a thin book filled with short poems. with a pressed flower tucked into each page. He never saw her again, but in the spring, he would often catch a scent of flowers and, for some reason, smile. The third tale quietly returned from the pages of that old book. Tale 4, The Ruby of the Palace. In this life, she was a zither player in the royal palace named Hongyu, meaning red jade. Her figure was elegant, her zither music resonant, and she was appointed the prince's personal night soothing musician. Remarkably intelligent, she never involved herself in palace intrigues, composing only light-hearted spring melodies for the prince. The prince didn't know her true form, only saying, "When Hongyu smiles, the scent of flowers enters my dreams." In truth, she had already fallen in love. But she also knew that a fox and a human could never have a happy ending. One year, war broke out on the border, and enemy troops stormed the capital. In the dead of night, fire erupted in the palace, and guards panicked. She didn't flee. Instead, she hid herself beside the prince, and used her zither bow to block an arrow aimed at him. When the prince awoke, he saw a shattered zither in an empty space beside him, with a strand of white fox fur drifting in the breeze on the ground. Years later, the prince, his hair white with age, still sat alone in the palace gardens, playing the melody she had left him, searching for red in the moonlight. The fourth tale quietly returned on a night when the palace lamps faded. Tale 5, Sealing the Mountains and Seas. In that life, she wasn't a woman, but a true fox spirit, sealed within a secret formation deep in the Kunlun Mountains. She wasn't a guilty fox, yet she was treated as the spirit of Akor, using the power of her 9 tails to suppress a land of fierce souls, the remnants of Qingqiu's battle formation. Mortals feared her and dare not approach, leaving her in 1,000 years of solitude, where not even an inch of snow would melt. The 5th tale returned in the snow of 1,000 years of silence, carrying the lingering warmth of trust. Tale 6, The Path of Souls. At the border between the underworld and the human realm, there was a forgotten bridge called the Wangchuan River, the River of Oblivion. In that life, Ling Jiu was the sole guiding fox of that bridge. She didn't speak or show her true form, but appeared as a faint light before every lost soul, pointing the way. She sang lullabies for stillborn children, and told dying old people the stories they never finished. Once, a soul unwilling to leave asked her, "I feel like I've seen you somewhere before." She smiled and didn't answer. After the child left, the lamps by the bridge lit up again, and her figure faded into the night. The 6th tale quietly returned in a place where no one remembered her name. Tale 7, The Fox of the Coastal Cliffs. In that life, she was a white fox resting on seaside rocks, known only as Tide's shadow. She had no home, only the ritual of rising with the dawn, and sitting still beneath the falling dusk. She did not speak to humans, nor chase the waves. She simply watched. When the first golden rays split the horizon, she looked up, and when the last glimmer of light sank into the sea, she gently lowered her eyes. People said she was waiting, but in truth, she simply remembered. Every dawn and every dusk needs someone to witness it. The 7th tale quietly returned with the coming and going of the tides. Tale 8, The Dream Eater's Regret. In that life, she strayed down the wrong path. She used her magic to delve into people's hearts and read their dreams. At first, it was to understand emotions, but it became a habit. People called her the Nightmare Fox, until she saw one dream, a child repeatedly dreaming of his mother's death. She absorbed the dream, but wept through the entire night. She finally understood that every dream was someone else's life. She stopped devouring souls, hid herself in the mountains, sat silently for 100 years without saying a single word, until the morning sunbeams pierced through the forest, and she softly spoke, "I remember who I am." The eighth tail quietly returned in the midst of regret. Tale 9. Ling Jiu herself. On the day all her tales returned, Ling Jiu finally understood. She wasn't a jigsaw puzzle of 9 identities, she was the sum of them all. The pride of the Qingqiu Empress, Daji's tenderness, Meiniang's silence, Hongyu's courage. The sacrifice of the seal, the companionship of the Wangchuan, Yingning's spring, the nightmare's remorse. She stood beneath the starry sky, and the deity asked her, "Are you willing to ascend to your celestial throne once more?" She looked towards the human world and said, "No. I wish to become light, hidden in the dreams of everyone who sleeps." She waved her 9 tails, casting the last one into the night sky, where it transformed into a white fox star. Whenever you suddenly catch a scent of flowers under the moonlight, whenever you see a gentle white fox brush past you in a dream, whenever you wake up from a dream with tears on your pillow but don't know why you're smiling, that is her. Ling Jiu has never left.